Sometimes the loudest betrayals arrive wrapped in polite smiles. The moment my husband called me an embarrassment, I realized that some people spend years polishing appearances while quietly breaking the hearts closest to them. What happened 3 days before his sister's wedding changed far more than our marriage. Welcome back to Family Reckoning, where family secrets always leave a mark. My name is Naomi Carter, and for 17 years I worked as a forensic accountant. People often think accounting is about numbers, but it isn't. It's about patterns. A single misplaced decimal can expose years of lies. Families aren't much different. They hide their secrets between conversations instead of spreadsheets, but eventually, the numbers stop adding up. I had been married to Gavin for 8 years. He wasn't cruel when we met. He was ambitious, charming, and always eager to impress everyone around him. Over time, though, I noticed something that worried me more than anger ever could. Gavin measured people the way investors measure companies. If someone had money, status, or influence, they mattered. If they didn't, they became invisible. Our daughter Lila was 6 years old. She still believed every promise adults made. That innocence was something I protected more carefully than any investment portfolio. When Gavin's younger sister, Sabrina, announced her wedding, she personally asked Lila to be the flower girl. Lila spent weeks practicing. She scattered imaginary flower petals across our living room while our golden retriever patiently followed behind her. She even insisted on practicing her tiny bow in front of the hallway mirror every evening before bedtime. Watching her was like watching spring arrive one flower at a time. My closest friend Martha owned a small tailoring shop. She had altered every important dress I'd ever worn since college. She volunteered to make Lila's flower girl dress by hand instead of buying one from a boutique. She stitched every pearl herself. "It's easier to sew hope into fabric than disappointment," she told me while adjusting the tiny sleeves. I smiled. Neither of us knew how true those words would become. Around that same time, Gavin's mother, Evelyn, had quietly been searching for a retirement estate. She had spent decades building a charitable foundation that funded children's hospitals. Few people outside wealthy circles knew how respected she truly was. Several months earlier, she had approached me privately. She wanted help purchasing a historic vineyard property valued at $8 million, not because she lacked the money, because she wanted someone she trusted to oversee every financial detail without attracting attention before the purchase became public. My firm specialized in transactions that required absolute discretion. The purchase was complete. The funds had already been transferred. Only Evelyn, her attorneys, and I knew everything had closed successfully. Meanwhile, wedding planning consumed everyone else, or so I thought. 3 days before the ceremony, little warning signs began appearing. Family group chats suddenly became unusually quiet. Schedule updates stopped reaching me. Whenever I asked Gavin about rehearsal details, he answered too quickly, "Everything's fine." As an accountant, I had learned that rushed answers usually covered missing information. Still, I wanted to believe him. She apologized 3 separate times before finally speaking. Lila wouldn't be the flower girl anymore. A wealthy business partner's granddaughter had taken her place. The change had happened earlier that afternoon. Nobody had wanted to upset us before they finalized everything. For several seconds, I simply stared through my office window. The city lights blurred into soft reflections. Numbers never lied. People often did. When I returned home, Lila was sitting at the dining table coloring tiny flowers onto the wedding program Martha had printed for her. She looked up with that hopeful smile only children possess. "Mom, should I practice walking slower?" I sat beside her, carefully, like someone carrying fragile glass. I explained that the wedding plans had changed. She didn't cry. That somehow hurt even more. Instead, she quietly folded the flower basket she'd been decorating. That night she placed her flower girl shoes back inside their box, perfectly straight, untouched. The next morning I called Martha. She didn't say much. She simply came over with warm cinnamon bread. Some friendships understand silence better than conversation. I decided to learn the truth. Not because I wanted revenge, because every missing number deserves reconciliation. A few hours later, I visited the hotel where wedding guests had begun arriving. By accident, or perhaps by fate, I overheard Sabrina speaking with Gavin inside a conference room whose door hadn't fully closed. The wealthy business family had promised significant investments into Gavin's new development company. Their granddaughter becoming flower girl wasn't written into any contract. It didn't need to be. Everyone understood the exchange without saying it aloud. Appearances, connections, opportunity. Leela had simply become an inconvenient detail. Later that evening, I confronted Gavin privately. He didn't deny it. Instead, he sighed like someone explaining basic mathematics. He admitted wealthy people expected certain images. He believed successful families looked different. He insisted nobody would remember who carried flowers. They'll remember the investors. Then came the sentence I'll never forget. He looked directly at me. You've never understood appearances. Sometimes, Naomi, you're embarrassing. Not because of how I dressed. Not because of anything I'd done. Because I still believed people mattered more than status. Oddly, his words didn't make me angry. They made everything clear. Like balancing a ledger that had been missing one final figure. The next morning, I attended the wedding exactly as planned. So did Lila. She wore the beautiful dress Martha had sewn anyway. Not because she expected to participate, because she'd worked hard preparing for that day. She deserved to wear it. The ceremony unfolded beautifully. The replacement flower girl performed perfectly. Guests applauded. Champagne flowed. Photographers captured smiling faces. During the reception, Evelyn requested the microphone. No one expected her speech to last more than a few minutes. She began by thanking everyone for celebrating Sabrina's marriage. Then she spoke about integrity. She explained that true wealth isn't measured by estates, investments, or family names. It's measured by how people treat those with nothing to offer. The ballroom became unusually quiet. Then she surprised everyone. She publicly thanked me, not for organizing wedding finances, but for handling the confidential purchase of her new $8 million vineyard estate with honesty, professionalism, and complete discretion. Most guests hadn't even known I was involved. She continued speaking. She explained that she deliberately kept my role private because she valued humility more than publicity. Then she looked directly toward Gavin. Without anger, without humiliation, only disappointment. She calmly revealed she'd learned what happened to Lila. She admitted she had never approved replacing her granddaughter. She hadn't even known until that morning. Finally, she announced something none of us expected. She had decided to postpone every planned investment connected to Gavin's company. Business partnerships, she explained, require character before capital. Silence spread through the ballroom. No shouting, no dramatic accusations, only facts. The same way truth appears inside a completed financial audit. I never spoke into the microphone. I didn't need to. The truth had introduced itself. Later that evening, several guests quietly approached Lila. One elderly woman handed her a tiny bouquet tied with white ribbon. Another photographer asked if she would like one special picture wearing her beautiful dress. She smiled again, a real smile this time, not because strangers pitied her, because someone finally saw her. The months that followed weren't simple. Gavin and I separated. There wasn't some dramatic courtroom victory or miraculous reconciliation. Some marriages don't end because love disappears. They end because respect quietly leaves first. Sabrina apologized many times. I accepted her apology. Forgiveness doesn't always rebuild trust. Sometimes it simply allows people to stop carrying unnecessary weight. Evelyn remained part of Lila's life. She kept her promise to visit every Saturday. The vineyard eventually opened its educational center for children. Lila planted the first rose bush there herself. One afternoon nearly a year later, we visited together. She looked across the gardens before asking something I'd quietly feared she still wondered. Mom, was I not good enough? I knelt beside her. I brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. No, sweetheart. You were never replaced because you lacked anything. Some adults forget that kindness is worth more than influence. That was their mistake, never yours. She nodded. Then she ran toward the roses with the same joyful steps she'd once practiced for that wedding. Watching her laugh again reminded me that dignity isn't something other people give us. It's something we quietly protect even when others fail to recognize it. Sometimes the strongest form of revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's calmly standing by the truth until everyone else finally sees it. If this story touched your heart, tell us in the comments, what would you have done in Naomi's place? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join Family Reckoning for more unforgettable stories of family, betrayal, quiet justice, and second chances.